Hi everyone. Not sure how exactly to start this video, but or this vlog, I should say. But basically, there's been some things that have come up in the news this week that I want to touch on. It's kind of been going on, I've noticed, for a few years now. One was basically it was many years ago, in the early 1900s. There was a black woman who was hired by a company to promote their ready mix pancake batter, and she's hired on as their national spokesperson, and from what I understand, she was paid very well, and she was made a lot of money off of the her career as a spokesperson for the company. Lately, though, her image on the packaging for this company has come under fire as being racist. And what I'm having trouble understanding is how, and if you haven't figured it out yet, I am of course talking about Aunt Jemima, the pancake batter company. Or I don't actually buy Aunt Jemima, but anyways, somehow what I'm having trouble understanding is how a woman being hired and paid for by a company for her work, I'm having trouble understanding how that's racist. You know, how someone becoming a national spokesperson, being paid for their work, how is that racism? And it's not just Aunt Jemima that's under fire. There's others that have come under fire this week too. Uncle Ben rice, cream of wheat, and even Mrs. Butterworth's maple syrup, which, in my opinion, is the best maple syrup on the market right now. So, but it's like everything's suddenly becoming offended. I know there's been recent controversy over the Confederate flag and everything. Well, it's been going on for a few years now, but which I'll touch on here in a moment. But it seems like lately there's been a resurgence in the issues with the Confederate flag, and I just can't help wonder why all of a sudden everything is suddenly racist, and people are suddenly getting offended by everything. One thing that popped in my head this week was George Carlin talking about his 7 dirty words, and how back when one of the talks he was doing on a radio program was aired, which is what landed him in a lawsuit apparently. Apparently he uttered these 7 dirty words, or his infamous 7 dirty words, on the radio, and somewhere, I think it was in New York, there was a minister with his kid in the car who were driving along, and they heard him saying all these 7 dirty words on the radio. Well, the minister took offense of it and ended up suing George Carlin, the radio station, I guess, or something. But anyways, even though in a car there's 2 knobs on the radio, one that turns off the radio and one that changes the channel, and yet this minister, rather than just change the channel to something better that he wouldn't be offended by, he just decided to sue. But I can't help but think of that with everything that's going on right now, with everyone getting offended by all these company mascots or images and that kind of thing, and all this stuff going on now with the Confederate flag, and there's even people tearing down statues and stuff, and it's like, that's not going to erase history. That's all you're doing is vandalizing. And George Carlin used to say, leave symbols for the simple-minded. And, if you're getting offended by just a statue or a flag, I mean, it's just, yeah, there's stuff that I don't like in history and stuff too, but it's like, just, you can't erase the history or, the past, by tearing stuff down. I'm just almost wondering if, as a society, we have become, so self-centered, so thin-skinned that the least little thing is offensive to us. And it just really seems like either, I can't help but wonder, is the stuff that people are offended by really offensive? Or are they being ignorant about it? Or are they just making mountains out of molehills, or whatever the saying is? Examples of what I'm referring to, of people being ignorant. There's actually 3 examples of it. One, back in spring of '96, when shortly after I had come out of the closet, I was on a BBS system called ISCA. I think it's Iowa Student Commuter Association. It's a bulletin board system that me and a bunch of friends from college used to go into regularly to talk and keep in touch over and everything. Anyways, someone in the one chat room that I was in mentioned that he was going to go outside and smoke a fag. Now, I had just come out of the closet, and I live here in the U.S. I hadn't watched any British TV shows or anything like that at the time. And, well, actually, I did watch Are You Being Served, but I never heard the term smoke a fag on that show. So, I heard the term smoke a fag, and first thing I thought was, hey, someone's going out or bragging about going out and doing something to a homosexual. And I spouted off on the guy, and he, turns out the guy was from Britain. And smoke a fag meant he was going out to smoke a cigarette. I never knew that, and I apologized and explained the situation. I can't remember what his reaction had been after that, but anyways, that's just an example how, someone can say one thing, but someone uninformed somewhere else can get offended by it. Back when I was going down to Moonville, on my trips, folks leave pennies and other coins and stuff on the grave markers down there. And, that's old tradition. There's an old tradition, I actually forget where exactly I read where there's meaning behind the different coins and stuff you leave on a grave. But anyways, people leave stuff on, coins and stuff like that on gravestones. It's an old tradition. And I had told my mom about that a long time ago. So, a while back, not long afterwards, I was up to Bucyrus and went by the cemetery to where a friend of mine from high school is buried, as well as not too far away from that, from his grave, is my mom's brother's grave. He passed away back in 2011. And he's buried up there, and I had some change in my pocket, and I put a couple pennies on his gravestone. Well, I didn't tell my mom about it, and a few days later, I was talking to my mom on the phone. She's like, well, I was up visiting your Uncle Bill's grave, and somebody left a couple pennies on it, and she was all offended by it, saying that, somebody apparently thought he was only worth a couple cents or something like that, and it's like, okay, Mom, remember I told you about Moonville? You know, people leave change all the time on graves. It's not the amount of money that's left or anything. It's, you know, that they're leaving something for the loved one there. And she just completely went off and stuff and got all offended by it and everything. So that's, you know, that's the second example of how people can be uninformed and form their own opinions and everything and become offended by something. Third, and I'm not sure if this person was really serious or not, but back a few years ago, when the Internet Movie Database had message boards for TV shows and movies and stuff on their website, MeTV brought back reruns of the TV show Mama's Family. And on the message board for Mama's Family, someone posted that Mama's Family was a racist show because the bar in the town of Raytown was called the Bigger Jigger. And it was offensive because it was one letter off from a racial slur. It starts with the letter N. I'm not going to say it here because I hate the word. But anyways, if you've never heard the word jigger before, look it up online. Jigger is basically a measure of alcohol. It's like a shot glass, basically. So what better name for a bar than call it a bigger jigger? You know, bigger measurement of alcohol. And the person assumed, because it was one letter off from this racial slur, that it was something that to be offended by, and they just went off on the show being racist and everything. And, you know, there's no racism on that show. So it's like, you know, I don't know if they were just literally, you know, misinformed and ignorant about it, or if they were just trolling the message board. But, you know, that's, you know, another example of, you know, those are three examples of how being misinformed or ignorant about a situation, you know, suddenly it becomes offensive to the person. And, you know, I can't help but wonder, you know, is stuff really being offensive to people? Are they ignorant like those three examples? Or is it someone just stirring up trouble and trying to make a mountain out of a molehill? You know, back when the whole controversy several years ago started over the Confederate flag, I was watching reruns of a TV show that I watched growing up called The Dukes of Hazzard. And if you've ever watched The Dukes of Hazzard, there's no racism on that show, none whatsoever. And it's, you know, it's a fun family show. And, you know, it's safe for all members of the family to watch and everything. And the whole controversy over the Confederate flag came up, and suddenly the reruns of the show, they suddenly disappeared off the all cable stations. There's a video, or it's a video, CD, music, or whatever kind of store you want to call it, up here at the local mall. They used to have several DVDs of several seasons of the Dukes of Hazzard on their shelves. And shortly after this Confederate flag issue started up, you know, I went in and I was looking through the shelves for anything interesting, and there's an empty space where the Dukes of Hazzard DVDs had been. So it's like, you know, people are getting so offended over everything. And now, if you ever watched the Warner Brothers cartoons, Bugs Bunny and all that, you've probably heard that Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam, their images now are having their guns removed. You know, Elmer Fudd, you know, anytime he was hunting Bugs Bunny, he was always carrying a rifle. Yosemite Sam always had the gunslinger gun bell on. So it's like, you know, everyone's getting so offended by everything and wanting everything pulled or banned or changed or whatnot. You know, we've lost the Dukes of Hazzard. Um, Cartoons are now getting changed and edited to be politically correct and everything. And it's like, you know, what's next? You know, I think that we're at a point now where everyone needs to stop and think. You know, are we, you know, everyone's right now just reacting to everything that's going on, and nobody's stopping to think about what their actions are going to lead to. You know, Bugs Bunny and with Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam, you know, they've gotten changed. Dukes of Hazzard's gone. You know, what's next? You know, we, you know, it's one thing to make changes to make things politically correct, but where's this going to stop? You know, is it really making these changes really benefiting everybody, or is it just going to come back around and bite us? So you know, before you start getting offended by stuff going on, or something you see on TV or hear on the radio or whatnot, you know, maybe we should stop and think. You know, is it really offensive? Are we misinformed or ignorant about something? Or, you know, are we just making mountains out of molehills? Either way, I think we need to stop and think before we start reacting. And, you know, shooting from the hip or whatever the phrase is. So, something to think about.